Welcome back, everybody. How are we doing? This is United versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean. Little impromptu video this afternoon, I'm not going to lie. The video itself, not impromptu. I was planning to do a match preview of Thursday's Carabao Cup match against Spurs. Had it all prepped, ready to go. Had a little mini scout report in there and everything. And then lo and behold, I get it all ready to go. I go take a break, do some dishes, come back and check my phone. And what do I see? Breaking news coming from Henry Winter. If you've been under a rock for the last couple hours, Henry Winter spent some time with Marcus Rashford this week. I think it was yesterday, and a lot was said in that conversation, which was held while Rashford was at his old primary school, passing out Christmas presents and whatnot. But the biggest bomb that dropped during that whole interaction was from Rashford himself, who admitted that he is ready for a new challenge in his career. Big breaking news today. It is never a dull moment. We have all sorts of breaking news today. So we're here to discuss this, and I'm sure you guys who have maybe jumped over from other channels are probably tired of it. I'm not tired of it. I want to know your thoughts. I want you guys to get involved. I want to hear what you have to say, what your thoughts are on all this stuff. We're going to go through some of the big points from Henry Winter's article. And I want your thoughts on that because a lot was said, a lot of context, a lot of little things in there. And I've got my own thoughts. Obviously, we did that big video on Rashford and Garnacho yesterday. So some of it might seem a bit like a repeat, but it is important. And, as always, I just want your thoughts on it. So like the video, subscribe if you are new. We're jumping right in. Danny in the house. Long time no see, my friend, right? But good to see you. Thanks for stopping by, my guy. So, big events coming up this weekend. Obviously, Sunday, Manchester Derby, Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho not included in the squad. Big news, right? A big call from Ruben Amorim comes out today. So, Henry Winter was meeting with Rashford, who had the day off, apparently. And like I said, he went back to his primary school. I think it was called like Button Lane or something. I don't know. I don't live in the UK, so I don't know. To pass out Christmas presents because we know that's something that's very near and dear to Marcus Rashford's heart. So Winter shared a lot about what he and Rashford discussed. Talking first about how Rashford's sharing a little bit of how it feels in general and how it felt recently for him to kind of wake up and receive, and see, like, the first thing you wake up and see as a footballer, as Marcus Rashford in this case, is the hate and the abuse that he gets on a regular basis, including people who are all up in his DMs with the hate. This is what Rashford had to say on some of that. He says, "I do feel misunderstood, but I'm fine with it. I'm a very simple person. I love football. That's been my life from the beginning." And that's what he's got to say about it. Just moving through the slides here as I go along. I got a lot going on my screen, I just realized. Danny says, happy to know he's willing to move on and not be a mercenary like some of the Deadwood that wouldn't leave over the years. Yeah, we could probably all guess who you might be talking about. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening, and we're going to keep going through some of this today. So on that, like I said yesterday, criticism, feedback, even just the anger and stuff, the frustration, that's part of the package when you're a footballer. That's just the way it is. As a professional athlete, your job is performing, and that's how people are going to rate. If you're an actor, people are going to rate you based on your acting. If you're a footballer, they're going to rate you based on your playing. And that includes training, body language. Does your extracurricular activities impact the playing pitch, like your performances on the pitch? I think that's all part and parcel for it. So, and that's part of the thing. It's not fair, but it is what it is, especially at Manchester United, right? The criticism is normal, but when it crosses a line into a hate or abuse, racism, especially sending DMs with this kind of stuff, people need to do better in general. That's just my personal feeling on social media and stuff like that in general. Just on Rich's channel, there's a lot of harsh words out there for Rashford, and I get it. People don't rate him, but I said, it's one thing to be critical. It's one thing to not rate him as a footballer. It's one thing to want him to leave, but it's another entirely to insult. Like, I've never ever liked the Trashford nickname. I think that is just completely bang out of order. I call him Marcus Rashford at times, because when he gets into the final third, his heavy touch, running out of space, he can rush and he can get. That's my thing. But I think there's a fine line between criticism and insulting, and maybe I'm just a Disney Channel kind of person in that regard. But I just don't feel like it helps anything. So on the Derby itself, Rashford was asked how it felt to be dropped for the Derby on Sunday. This is what he had to say. Says it's disheartening to be left out of a Derby, but it's happened. We won the game, so let's move on. It's disappointing, but I'm also someone, as I've gotten older, I can deal with setbacks. What am I going to do about it? Sit there and cry about it, or do my best the next time I'm available? It's interesting, right? It was obviously a big call from Ruben Amorim to drop him, and obviously he's a Manc born and bred, and he lives for these derbies. We've had some big moments from his derby. He had that rocket of a goal last season in the derby at the Etihad, and he's been great for us in some of these matches, right? So it's interesting to hear that. What are your guys' thoughts on some of that? It's disappointing, but I'm also someone, as I've gotten older, I can deal with setbacks. Do you guys feel like Rashford can deal with setbacks? To me, I question that this year, the last couple of years, in terms of just based in the context of just what we've seen from him and some of the behavior and things, or even in the moment on the pitch. It doesn't seem like there is resilience. There doesn't seem like there is an ability to bounce back from those kind of things in a very positive, kind of proactive way. But you guys let me know how you feel. Because after all that, we come to the bomb of the conversation. Winter and Rashford talked about how it felt for him to wake up on Monday and see headlines basically that are letting him know, hey, the club wants to sell me, this, that, I'm up for sale. Like, Rashford's just waking up to seeing that. But then Winter asked him directly, are you staying or are you going? And Rashford said, for me personally, I think I'm ready for a new challenge and the next steps. When I leave, it's going to be in no hard feelings. You're not going to have any negative comments from me about Manchester United. That's me as a person. If I know that a situation is already bad, I'm not going to make it worse. I've seen how other players have left in the past, and I don't want it to be that person. When I leave, I'll make a statement, and it will be from me. What do you guys think of that? Any thoughts on what Rashford's had to say there? It's interesting stuff, right? I think I'm ready for a new challenge. We've heard that. That seems to be like the catchphrase when a player. We heard it from Pogba when he was here, right? I think he said that while he was on international duty. We've heard it. We've seen it from players all over the place. I'm ready for a new challenge. I'm ready for a new challenge. It's like the polite way of saying I want to leave, basically, right? It's the it's not you, it's me kind of a situation. And I'm sure that he won't have any hard feelings. You're not going to get any negative comments. I don't think I've ever seen negative comments from a player when they've left a club. The interesting thing to me, though, is he says he doesn't want to make it worse, but I feel like giving this little mini interview and then having it come out and stuff, it definitely isn't making it better, if that makes sense, right? It might, for Rashford, maybe saying it, maybe just kind of getting it out there is a bit of a relief for him. Maybe it's something he's been carrying around for a while, and it just feels good. Like, it feels like a weight is off his shoulders, just kind of saying it. And now he can kind of move forward. It definitely doesn't help us as far as negotiating concerned, because it's never good when you're trying to sell a player and it's known that they want to leave. It hurts our position in that regard, but it's a big statement nonetheless, right? I don't think this is reactionary from Rashford. I don't think he woke up, saw the stuff. I don't think it was I was dropped and now I don't want to be here. I don't think it had anything to do with recency or anything. I think that this is something that he's been thinking about for a while. And I'm only saying that based on what I've seen. His heart and his head just haven't looked in it for a while now. Since that big season in 22-23, he just looks too easily frustrated, too easily down. There's not really a whole lot of positivity that we're seeing. Some of the decision-making has not been very wise. And clearly Ruben Amorim clocked this, too. He figured out maybe he felt something was off. He said kind of things, in terms of just when I pay attention to everything Ruben Amorim said ahead of dropping the two before the match, the way you interact with your teammates. Maybe there's just the way something, like I said, I don't think I felt that the reason they were dropped, had more to do with behavior in terms, and I think in Rashford's case, his heart's not in it. That's just me. I've said it on another channel. I said it yesterday. I feel like Rashford, he looks burned out. He's played a ton of football, both at club and international level, since he made his debut as a teenager. He's carried injuries. He's spent loads of time off the pitch as well, working with children. And you can't burn the candle at both ends for that long and expect not to get worn out, expect not to kind of lose a bit of that fire. You just can't. It happens all the time. This is what causes people to lose their love and their passion and their joy for the things that they care most about in life, whether it's a relationship sometimes, whether it's a hobby, your dream job, or in Rashford's case, his career as a footballer at Manchester United. It can easily make you lose your passion for that. Rich jumping in the chat. Long time no see. I was just saying that to Danny. Big up, guys. Box is here too. Everybody's just jumping over. So winter continues. And so he says, even though Rashford scored 3 times under Ruben Amorim, the new system does not appear to suit Rashford. And this is coming from Winter. Winter continues. The player himself makes a point, though, about his adaptability, whether it's left wing, number 9 or 10. Rashford said, I have traits to play in all 3 positions. Some positions are more natural to me. The left side suits me best. I have to train more and do a bit more tactical work, though. Amorim doesn't play a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, says Winter. He plays with 2 10s. Again, Rashford said that the left hand still suits me, but you have to adapt your game. The biggest skill set is adaptability. People might not see it, but eventually they'll see I've played in many different positions under all the managers. And the problem is the club have kind of banked on that for a decade. It's kind of been like, well, whatever we need, Rashford will take care of it. We need goals, let's throw it on Rashford. We need someone to play in this position, we'll throw it on Rashford kind of thing. We need someone to step aside and do the dirty work while we have another number 9 come in. Like, it's Rashford, and they're failing to provide Rashford with any kind of real backup, or maybe in the other direction, like in Garnacho's case, any sort of real competition to where he has to maybe challenge, he has to develop some different skills. And they've basically done all this while treating him as a poster boy. Like, the club haven't helped the situation. It's not me making excuses. It's what it sounds like. I'm just trying to put out all the factors that I can maybe see contributing to some of this. Rashford, Bach says, Rashford leaving is correct decision, but some of the fans going overboard now, acting like he's always been trash. Rationale is needed. Yeah, he's not always been trash. If you guys, I said it many times, I'm tired of having to say it too to people. Like, it really is frustrating to have to look. Like, if you go back and you make a bar graph of Rashford's GA since his debut, it literally just goes up. It dips in 2021-22 because the club itself dipped in 2021-22. Do you remember that season? And it peaked again in 22-23, and then something happened in 22-23 that just, maybe it's the contract, maybe he just gave up. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm just saying something happened, and then it dipped again. But until that point, it was on a steady rise, and that's just the way it was. Flip Disc, welcome to the channel. He says he needs to go. Overpaid, overrated. The comments made with Winter will not be sanctioned by United. Once again, another example of his petulant behavior. It's hard to call it petulant, in my opinion, when the interview was given basically while he was at his old primary school passing out hundreds of Christmas presents. I mean, it's hard to call it petulant. Again, I don't know what's going on in Rashford's head, but that's why we're here right now. I want to know what you guys think, so I appreciate the thoughts. I've said many times, I think maybe Rashford's burned out. I think maybe he's doing a little too much. Maybe he lacks a little bit of mental strength in terms of resilience. I've done videos on the mentality thing. I did the thing yesterday on Rashford and Garnacho and stuff. So it's anyone's guess. I think, like Bach said, some of the overboard, some of the over the top criticism and insulting of him. Like I said many times, I don't like the Trashford nickname. I think that's just out of order. But in any case, I don't know about you guys, but I am a little sad about it. Now, I'm obviously a United fan, not a Rashford fan. So what's best for the club? And I've said many times, Rashford doesn't really fit this system. He doesn't seem like he's up for it. He and Dallo, for instance, stick out like sore thumbs. I've said that many times. So you guys know, if you've been following the channel, that I'm not going to sit here and be a Rashford apologist. That's just not it. I'm just pointing out all sides of it here. But I am sad, mostly because it could have and really should have been different for Marcus Rashford's United career. I think a big part of it, it's hard to ignore the fact that he is an academy grad. And quite frankly, for me, I'm old enough to remember the mid 90s, but even then I was very young. But I'm not old enough to remember when exactly, like I didn't experience it firsthand when the class of 92 came through. It was a little later than that. So for me, anyway, Rashford's pretty much like one of the first academy graduates who I've been old enough to kind of see come through the academy, be promoted to the first team, and play for a decade, basically. Like it's like Facebook for some people. I'm old enough to remember when Facebook became a thing, and then now it's been a part of that. It's really interesting. And then you can't doubt that he's given us some great moments at United, right? But part of me wonders if his time at United might always be thought of as like a what if, like what could have been. He's our 12th all-time goal scorer, just 7 behind Ronaldo, and 8 goals out of the top 10 for our all-time goal scorer list. So again, you can't help but ask what might have been. There's a chance if he stays till the summer, he could get into the top 10. Who knows? Box says, yep, Rashford has been very frustrating, but hearing the news today as a fan, you feel it's a shame. Yeah, and I think that's probably the key word, right? It's like your first reaction is like, that's a shame. That's too bad. But it is one of those things, like what might have been, at what point did it change? At what point did the trajectory kind of alter a little bit? And it is odd to me, though, to hear Rashford say, like, no, I can adapt. I can play this left-sided 10. I can suit this system. I can do that. And people forget that I played a couple different positions. So it's odd to hear him say that because, like, don't you want to try then to stay? Like, what happened? Like, you say you can do this, but then you say you're ready for a new challenge. Like, it's very interesting to me. The contradictory nature of those two statements is odd to me when I look at it in that regard. But that's another thing that makes me think that maybe this has been on his mind for a while. Maybe it has nothing to do necessarily with the system, the manager. Maybe it's just more of a Rashford and United thing than a Rashford and managers, Rashford and results, Rashford and teammates thing. Maybe Rashford just is ready for a move. Sometimes a thing just runs its course. That's just life sometimes, and it is what it is. It's something, and when I think the worst part of that, it's not a bad thing, but I think the worst part of it is maybe sticking with something that isn't right anymore for too long until it becomes a little bit too late and untenable. Maybe this is the best decision, but you guys let me know you think. It sounds like a lot of you are on the same page. I mean, I'll say, like, it's probably the best decision, right? I think that he doesn't fit the squad. I think that he doesn't have the work rate and the physicality to play in a wingback role. I don't think he's good enough in and around tight spaces. I think he's good starting wide and cutting inside, but we don't play that way anymore. I don't think he's good enough in close quarters, and I don't think he has an eye for a pass to play in that one of those 10 roles. I think that Rashford needs space, and he needs to use his pace. It's space and pace is Rashford's game, and I don't think he's going to get that. He's going to be better suited to a team that's going to play a little bit more. Heck, he can go to Spurs and play counterattacking football. And it's interesting. We always had a feeling when Ruben Amorim was appointed that this could be the case, that maybe there were going to be some players that just weren't going to fit, and Rashford clearly seems like he's one of them. And I've said many times that it might be Rashford's choice. If you remember what I said yesterday in terms of does he want to adapt to another manager? He's already had to adapt to Jose Mourinho, to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to Ralph Ragnick, to Eric Ten Hag, and now he's got to adapt to another. I mean, he's 27. He's probably at a point in his career where he's like, you know what? I know what I'm good at. I'm not really going to do this. Maybe I'll go someplace else. I don't know. But what happens next? Will Rashford find a way? Will Amorim find a way to make him part of his plans until the right move for him comes along? Will it just be business as usual till January, till the summer? Is it one of those things where, like, if it's decided that you leave, then the manager just freezes you out because you're not part of the plans anyway? We've seen that happen before as well. Will the club look to get his wages off the books and cash in ASAP? How much would we get? I'm throwing all these questions out here. You guys feel free to answer as I'm going along. Composed View, welcome back, my friend. How are you? His trajectory changed during Mourinho's time. I remember an interview when he said he likes to squeeze Rashford to get the best out of him. He was immensely influenced by Pogba and the lifestyle. Yeah, I've seen some people throw that out there too. The whole Pogba, Rashford. I guess you could maybe throw Lingard in there. Lingard's a little older than Rashford though by a couple of years, but Lingard and Pogba, and then Ravel Morrison were kind of in that same. And maybe it was an instance of Rashford kind of hanging out with them. I don't know. I don't like to judge. But we've all kind of had issues with Pogba. Lingard had some issues as well. I don't think Lingard was ever really good enough. Ravel Morrison, obviously, we all know what happened with Ravel Morrison. We've heard it many times from his former teammates. Best talent they've ever seen, training and stuff. Just the mentality, the attitude just wasn't there. Maybe that's it. Maybe it was a generational thing, and maybe we're starting to kind of see the tail end of that. I don't know. Will Rashford want to leave ASAP and go play as soon as he can to at a place where he's a better fit in order to get back into the England squad? It's possible. I mean, has he already played his last match for United? Was the recent his recent appearances, were those the last ones that we would see from him? You guys, let me know what you think. Bandomac, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you again. Goals for George says, Amorim saw how many managers have been sacked by Rashford and decided not going to happen to me. Rather work on academy players rather than this white elephant project. That's harsh, man. That's harsh. I mean, it's hard to say Rashford sacked manager. I mean, he had his best season under a manager that just got sacked. I mean, there's a lot of other players. We can say it's a team sport, but then we can't turn around and say, one player got a manager sacked. I think Rashford, I think it's more of an issue for me with Rashford. He's just got a mentality issue. It's a combination of maybe he's burnt out. He's not as good as we thought. I mean, I don't think Rashford, there were times when we thought Rashford maybe could be, the next Rooney or whatever. It's just, I think that he just lacks that mental edge to put him in that bracket. And unfortunately, it kind of came down into a Lingard bracket a little bit. I don't know. That's why I'm here for you guys. I want to know what you guys think. January window is weeks away. We still need to sell to buy, despite what some people might think. It wouldn't surprise me to see Rashford leave next month. Not that I would necessarily plan on that. I just say it wouldn't surprise me if somebody came in for him, especially if the club look at him and see, you know what, profit, wages off the books. We can get. I mean, if you sell Rashford for maybe what he's worth, I checked on Transfer Market. Transfer Market values him at 55 million euros. Do you think we're going to get that for him? I think that it's hard for me because it's like I don't want a prolonged transfer saga that's going to cause drama, but at the same time, I'm tired of letting players go for peanuts. I'm tired of being that club who never gets good deals. I'm hoping under a new regime that will change, but we do not do very well when it comes to selling players, and we drag it on for a long time. Maybe if we put out there a lower price, maybe more clubs will get interested. There are some clubs who might need a winger. PSG have been interested. Bayern Munich's been thrown out there. MLS, Saudi. I don't know. What do you guys think? Composed View says Rashford also didn't learn the simple things like how to pass in close proximity, use his left foot, simple dribbles, etc. He instead built his body into an athlete and lost his agility doing that. Yeah, I think, and you guys know I've said this a couple times. Same with Dalot. I think there are like detriments to Rashford and Dallow's game, like weak points that they've never really improved. With Rashford, it's been that touch, that final touch, and then the decision making in the final third. He just hasn't really improved, and he's been here 10 years and he's still making the same kind of poor decisions that we saw him make when he was young. And this is why I said yesterday that Garnacho, he needs to look at this as a teachable experience because they're very different ages, and Rashford's making the same decisions that Garnacho's making. Garnacho has an opportunity to make changes now that may maybe more positively impact his career in the long term, whether or not that's at United. It doesn't matter if it's staying at United. No matter where he goes, if he learns these skills now, takes these opportunities as teachable moments, and is humble enough to make those changes, it's going to help him no matter where he goes. And quite frankly, it's going to help him as a human being as well, not just as a footballer. And I think that Rashford's decision-making, and I criticized this a little bit yesterday, even off the pitch, has been suspect as well. I'm not going to rehash that. Y'all can go watch that video again if you want to dive into that a little bit. But Yeah, Rich, I totally agree, man. Calling him Trashford is just silly. Like I said on your live chat, we could be critical. That's pretty much what we're here to do as fans. But when we cross the line to just insults and abuse because you're frustrated with a player because you don't rate a player, like that's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, that's something that children do, and I like to think we're all mature adults. Yeah, and Box agrees. Composed View says, I think he'll play until he's sold or leaves. It's a challenge to find a club that'll take on his wages given his current situation. Yeah. I mean, I think there are clubs who can definitely afford it. PSG can afford it. Bayern can definitely afford it. If you look at Bayern's wage bill, like they've got players that are on crazy, crazy wages at Bayern Munich. Michael Olise, who literally had like one decent season in the Premier League, just went there. He's literally on like almost 260K a week. That's insane. Nabry's on a crazy ton. Manuel Neuer is on like 400K a week, and the dude's like 40. And he's always freaking injured. It seems like that's insane. Harry Kane is their top earner. Obviously, Bayern can definitely afford it, and I think Bayern are in a position where they're probably going to be losing a couple players. I don't think they're gonna. I think Bayern are going to be putting all their eggs in the Jamal Musiala basket. It doesn't help them, though, that they might be losing Alphonso Davies for free. I'm not sure what the update is on that one recently. But just like PSG, losing a player like that for free is not helpful. But Bayern also do have a couple players that might be leaving and still up in the air on what's going on. I know Leroy Sané is out of contract. Gnabry could be leaving. Coman could be leaving. They have Olise, Matthias Tell. I think that they like that. PSG have liked Rashford for years. PSG do like a big name signing. And despite whether or not you rate Rashford, he is very highly rated in other leagues throughout Europe, especially in the French league, especially PSG. Their president really likes him. They need to fill an Mbappe-sized hole. Gonçalo Ramos and Kolo Muani haven't quite worked out. And so maybe Rashford can come in and fill that Mbappe-shaped hole in leading their attack. Who knows? I think he's better than Gonçalo Ramos and Kolo Muani, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Composed View says, I think he'll be sold for about 30, 40 million. I mean, I think that's probably where the price that it's going to take to start the conversation. Again, it's hard. It's like, it's not even like I'm like, oh, I love Rashford. I want us to hold out for more. It's just that I'm tired of getting our pants pulled down in the transfer market for players when we sell them, especially, and when we buy them. You've got guys like Emile Smith-Rowe going for crazy money. Rashford should be going. Your head tells you, compared to Emile Smith-Rowe, who went to Fulham for, I don't even remember how much off the top of my head. Someone help me out. But whatever Emile Smith-Rowe went for, Rashford is easily double that, no matter what that price is. If you're going by that comparison, like that's what I'm talking about. If these clubs are going to be wheeling and dealing with each other, try to get around PSR, we need to get a piece of that too. I don't want him to go to a Premier League club because I just don't. I'm tired of it. I don't really know if Rashford wants to stick around in the Premier League either. If I'm honest, I think maybe he could do with just some time away from the English media and the scrutiny. Because no matter where he goes, it's just like Sancho. Whenever Sancho does anything, it's always brought up. No one shuts up about it. It is what it is, and it's going to be the same with Rashford. He's not going to escape it. I think that's a bigger issue for him is the scrutiny, the constant scrutiny, and the spotlight. Box says if he's played his last game, he'll be 23rd on all-time appearances. Nice, 15th on goal scores. I thought he's 12th. I read earlier actually on one of the websites. He's like 7 goals behind Ronaldo. I checked. And he's like 8 goals out of the top 10. I just checked that like an hour ago. United TV says some fan channels act like some of our better players are crap. Yeah, I think some of it is. It's so much. It's so. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, Rich, and I don't want to like judge or anything. I think that some of it is just modern society. No one wants to be. There's a bit of cognitive dissonance in there. People can't handle when they're proved wrong, and people can't handle when internally they feel one way, but they have to look like they don't care. And so they just double down on agendas. They double down on stuff. Good, I never rated him anyway. But these same people were cheering when Rashford scored the pen against PSG or something. Like, you don't get to do both. And so it's not like, oh, I always thought he was crap, but then I cheered when he scored that. I cheered when he scored that. I was late for a client that day watching that game because we went so long. Um, Thankfully, that client was always late anyway, so it's fine. But like that, and that was Rashford's first pen at United, by the way, against PSG in that Champions League game. So he's had some big moments. We can't deny that. Goals for George says once his pal had issues with Eric Ten Hag, Rashford down tools. Despite Eric Ten Hag playing him consistently and giving him his bumper contract, Rashford was an ingrate. See, name calling is not necessary. That's what I'm talking about. Like the stuff, like the name calling. I mean, come on. Like, I appreciate you jumping in on the channel. I love the support, but I challenge you to do better than name calling. That is my challenge to you guys, everybody. Box says, I prefer him to go abroad, but I say the same for all players. I hate seeing former players score against us, whether it's a Welbeck or Ronaldo. Man, Welbeck loved the goal against us, right? He scored against us at Watford, at Brighton, at Arsenal. It's freaking Welbeck. I hate it when we play a team where Welbeck's playing and he's starting because I just know he's going to score against us, you know? Danny B says, we can get Davies and 25-30 off Bayern for Rashford in January. I mean, we do need to mop up on that left-hand side because Dallow's not cutting it. And wasn't Dallow linked with Bayern not that long ago, or was that Dortmund? Somebody remind me who that was. That left-hand side needs help. Our midfield needs help. We need a 10 for sure. We need a lot of help. Maybe Nipan will come and help us out in the 10 role. Will Nipan be able to start right away? He's still just a youngster. Box says, I think Bayern will go after Wirtz and pair him with Musiala. That's a lot of money because it's going to take a big package to get Musiala to sign a new contract. They're going to have to put a lot of money in front of him. And they have to get all these other players off the books as well. And Florian Wirtz is not going to be cheap. That dude's probably going to cost like 80 to 100 mil because that kid is special. But both Musiala and Wirtz are special. Where does Wirtz play if Musiala stays? Because Bayern play a 4-2-3-1. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'll take Wirtz or Musiala and throw him in the 10 at United. I mean, shoot. I'll tell Bayern right now, you can have Rashford for free. Give us Musiala. Box says they might try to steal Alonso as well, but manager ahead of Madrid if Company doesn't work out. Well, we know that Company is not going to work out. That's just is what it is. You go from Nagelsmann, you go from Flick to Nagelsmann to Tuchel, and you go to Company. I mean, what do they think was going to happen? If that's your rebuild, is Company just a placeholder? I don't know. I really don't know there. I could see if Company doesn't work out, I could easily see them bringing in someone like Honus or something. Composed View says, I hope Rashford's sold for more. We need to be taken seriously on and off the field. To be honest, I feel for him having your career unfold this way in your childhood club where it was hoped you'd be a legend. There was hope. Like I said, it might be a situation now of like what might have been, right? And then I'm not excusing Rashford from this. He carries a big responsibility. He has played a role in all this. Again, I think it's a mentality thing. I think maybe he's not made some wise decision. I think the biggest decision that springs to mind is the surgery, putting that off to go on England duty when you didn't even really play on England duty, and then coming back and then having to delay that season at United was an example of unwise decision making. Now, whether that was Rashford's decision, whether that was the people he had around him kind of speaking into his ear decision or whatever, to me, it wasn't a wise decision. And that is kind of one decision out of a series of decisions over the last 3 or 4 years from Rashford that I'm looking at a pattern here of just bad decision making. That's just my opinion. Composed View says Dallo was linked with Real Madrid. Yeah, he's linked with Real Madrid this season, but I feel like it was like 2 or 3 seasons ago Dallo was linked to like Dortmund or Bayern. I don't remember. I feel like it was definitely one of those, though. Somebody's going to have to let me know. Box, yeah, Real Madrid. Yeah, recently. I mean, if Dallo wants to go to Real Madrid and they want to throw like 40, 45 million, they go for it. I mean, that's 20 million profit. Bandomac says, I saw a comment somewhere saying Scholes had 15 great seasons in a row. Rashford has had 2 good seasons in 7 years. It's about getting back to the standards of a player needed to play for United. And I think I think the difference here, and I think this is what would help a lot of people again, is context. It's like I say about Højlund. People are going in on Højlund. They're calling him pony. They're calling him just done because he's not playing like a Holland or a Harry Kane or a Mo Salah. Like Højlund is 20 something years old. He's like 20, 21 years old. We can't judge him at this stage in his career the same way we're going to judge someone who's been playing that role at that level and performing for 8, 9, 10 more years. That's just not fair. I don't think we can judge Rashford in the same way that we can judge Scholes and stuff, because Rashford, I don't think it's just ever been in that level. He's probably like 2 tiers below that, if I'm being honest. Rashford to me is like, when it comes to those, he's like a level above like Lingard, but he's probably a couple levels below someone like a Scholes or a Beckham or anything like that, in my opinion. And I think that when we can make that a little bit more reality, kind of temper that expectation, and we can kind of see, like, for that level, what he did was good, but he was never going to be that legend, I don't think. And I think we're starting to really see that. Jules, how are you, my friend? Welcome. Long time no see, right? He says, I didn't know you had a channel. Yeah, you don't know it. Most people don't, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm not very good at the self-promotion thing. Plus, on Rich's channel, I'm not gonna say that, hey, come check out my channel. That's just kind of rude. But yeah, I'm not really good at self-promotion. There are very few people that I know that even know I do the YouTube thing. It's really just a hobby, quite frankly, but it is fun. I get to chat with all you lovely folks. Is Jules Solskjaer related to Ole Gunnar? Yes. Bandomex says, I know, just meant it's time to move on. Yeah, it is time to move on. It is what it is. I think we've reached the end of the road when it comes to the Rashford Manchester United story. Like I said, wouldn't surprise me to see him leave next month. Who knows what that looks like? Are the club in a hurry to get him out of here? Is he in a hurry to go play someplace else? He does represent a lot of profit. I do think there are more clubs than people think that can afford his wages. Bayern can definitely afford his wages. They pay their players a lot. PSG can definitely afford it. Newcastle have, they're working within PSR, right? But I think people forget Newcastle are like the richest club in the world. And they are trying to do some sort of a little rebuild there in terms of what they want to be. Maybe Rashford can go to City and play in the Championship next season. Who knows, right? I'm not going to sing the Fraudiola, the Red Nose Gaffer song again. You guys can go watch that other video if you want to see that. Jules Solskjaer wants to know, what is your favorite Rashford memories? There's a lot of good ones out there, that's for sure. And like I said on Rich's live chat, my favorite is probably the pen against PSG in the Champions League to put us through in the next round. Obviously, the next round didn't go very well for us, but that moment was just so perfect for so many reasons. Like I said, it was Rashford's first penalty kick for United, and he's going up against Gianluigi Buffon in the Champions League, second leg away from home, to step up and put that pen away. And it was such a well-taken pen. It was a good height, good power, good placement. To have all that context in that moment and have him be the one to do that, academy grad, all that, it was a huge, huge moment. His debut, I think it was against Midtjylland, was pretty interesting as well. He's had some good moments. I think that he had a nice free kick against Chelsea. I forget. That was like an early in the season match, I believe. Was that a Frank Lampard Chelsea moment? But it was a really, really well taken. It was like a Ronaldo free kick. It was up and down, dipping. Oh yeah, Banomac, and also to wipe the smile off Di Maria. Yeah, we don't talk about Di Maria around here. He is the worst. Solskjaer says, I was so nervous before he took it. It was emphatic. Yeah, it was. I'm a therapist, so I had client literally scheduled, and I was at my house. I was late for my client. My client and I kind of walked in at the same time because my office is not that far from where I live, but I was late because I was like, told my wife, like, she's like, don't you have a client? And I'm like, not till this kick is taken, because I'm not leaving right now. There's no way. So there was a good moment. These are the things we sacrifice for United, right? Like I rearrange a lot of my life around United matches. What are some of your guys' favorite Rashford moments? I know some people are not very pro Rashford, so maybe some of you are probably going to be like, the moment he announced he was ready for a new challenge, that was my favorite moment. I get it. So not everyone is a fan. just because you don't hate Rashford doesn't mean you're like a Rashford apologist or some sort of super fan, or you've fallen for any sort of PR or anything. I think some people just don't like unnecessarily insulting people in general, let alone the players for their club. It is what it is. Um, but the big question here, so we're talking about Rashford leaving. The question is who should replace him? Would it be someone wide? Would it be someone in that 10 role? What do you guys think should happen? Is there a chance we could do something in January? Maybe you think a striker would be a good replacement. I don't want Kolo Muani. I saw us linked to him. I don't want him at all. Jonathan David still probably up there for me in terms of really good bargain deals. But it's unfortunate. This is the way the Rashford story went, right? So Henry Winter kind of ended things. He said the last time Rashford was at his primary school, this Button Lane primary school. What is primary school, like elementary school, by the way? Because I'm American, so we don't say primary school. We say elementary school or high school or middle school. You guys let me know. What Henry Winter said when Rashford was last at this primary school, apparently a little girl asked him, what is your greatest achievement? Rashford replied, I haven't achieved it yet. I really like this mindset. It's clear Rashford has a lot of ambition, has a lot of dreams. He has a lot of passion. I think that it needs direction, and maybe it needs a little time to kind of simmer down a little bit. And when you're going, you're burning the candle. I've said before, I think he's burned out. I think that he clearly has a lot to do. But I like that mindset. And then Winter asked him, Rashford, will you always be a Red? And he said, yes, 100%, 100%. Once a Red, always a Red, right? Let me see what you guys are saying here. Jules says there was a goal where he scored against City and basically retired Demichelis off by putting the ball. Oh, I remember that. Oh man, I do remember that. He's managing in Argentina now, I believe. Martin Demichelis. I remember that. Had him just on toast, just spinning every which way. He looked like a freaking baby giraffe on ice. Demichelis in that moment. Rashford had him all over the place, and I was here for it. He can do that. This is the thing, when Rashford's going at you full pace, you're just done. You can't do anything because he's really good. It's just when he has to slow down, and when he runs out of room, it's hard for him to slow down, I think. And maybe that's kind of a metaphor for him. It's hard for him to slow down. Maybe he's got a little bit of OCPD in there. Maybe he just always has to be doing something, and maybe it's hard to constantly be going full throttle like that because you will get burned out. Maybe that's just the way he is. Maybe he's like one of those people, I call them like sharks, where they just, if they stop moving, they die. He said, I'm halfway through my career. I don't expect my peak to be now. I've had 9 years so far in the Premier League, and that's taught me a lot. Here, I'll put this on the screen so you guys can see it too. I've had 9 years so far in the Premier League, and that's taught me a lot. That's helped me grow as a player and as a person. So I don't have any regrets from the last 9 years. I won't have any regrets going forward because I take things day by day, and sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes good things happen. I just try to keep a balance. The best is yet to come. That's my mentality, and that's what he said. What's his greatest achievement? He hasn't achieved it yet. So I'm sure we'll all be watching Rashford, with whatever happens next, to see where he goes and what he does. And sort of a small part of us will always, be cheering for him a little bit, right? Bach said Rashford had a good spell of scoring versus the top six. Yeah, he's had some good goals. That rocket against City last year, that was one of the options for, if you guys watched the season awards at the end of last season in the summer, that was one of the options to vote on. I can't remember what one won that. Oh, I think it was Amad Diallo's goal against Liverpool in the FA Cup quarterfinal was the one that won that one. But Rashford, that rocket was in there. Goals for George says Rashford should have had a legacy like Raul at Madrid. Chance after chance by the club and his PR company shutting down everyone in the UK has not helped him, as he's lost the ability to self-reflect. I know there's rumors. There's always rumors about people's PRs kind of shutting things down. I think that the UK, I think it has more to do with the political stuff than anything personally. I think the English media is pretty careful to not be biased against the English players. I think they tend to favor the English players a little bit. I mean, there's always the jokes about foreign players, right? If his name had been, like Anthony Williams, like they wouldn't care as much, kind of thing. I think like you never know. I'm not English clearly, unless I just have the worst Cockney accent in around. But I couldn't tell you. I know that it's like hit or miss with the English media. It's hard to know which ones are reliable. It took me a while to learn as I started getting more and more into it, which media outlets in the UK are to be trusted. I've learned that the sun is a 4-letter word in the UK, so things like that. So you never know. And then obviously some certain journalists do have a little bit of agendas and bias. Box says, goal away at Brighton, where he twisted and turned the defenders on the floor. I remember that. I remember Ben White getting all sorts of grass stains on his shirt that day. He had them everywhere. They were slipping and sliding. It was insane. It was like they were literally playing on the playground. That was hilarious. Primary. Everybody showing the love in the chat. Love it. Banomek says his 2 goals against Liverpool in the 16-17 season. I mean, 17-18 season, yeah. I mean, any goals you score against Liverpool are going to be great goals, right? I mean, those bin dippers deserve it. Jules says those early months in his career, he was so good. Scored a great goal against West Ham as well. Bent in the top corner. He has scored amazing goals. Maybe that's something I could do is like we can maybe all sit around and watch some compilation videos of Rashford goals. I don't know what the copyrights are on those kind of reaction videos, but it could be something fun to do. I think it's always fun watching some of those. I'll stumble across them every now and then when I'm on YouTube, and some of them you just honestly forget about, and then you watch them again, and it's like you get to relive it all over again. That's the cool thing about the times we live in, right? Jules says, fair comments about Rashford being burnt out. Change of scenery could be what he needs. And I think the biggest part of that would just be not only you're getting out of the Manchester United spotlight, but just getting out of like the Premier League spotlight for a little bit. Because again, like Sancho, like any player, like even Alanga sometimes gets it. They can't help but kind of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, these former United players, back to United somehow. And it's got to be tiresome, man. And I think maybe just a change of scenery. You see it all the time in life. Sometimes just a change of scenery does help. I've worked with clients who, say the same thing. Sometimes it is a big deal. It is a little scary. It's new. Sometimes there's language. It's, there's lots of unknown places. It's hard to imagine, living in a place you've never been before, for instance. But I think that it could be good for Rashford just to get out of here now. We'll see. But like I said, it doesn't excuse his responsibility in where he is right now and how things have gone. Composed View says Rashford has excellent PR, says the right things. Brilliant team, influential, etc. However, his substance on the field is lacking. If he had that, he'd be unstoppable on and off the field. I mean, again, I don't know enough about, like, does Rashford even have social media? Does he put out stuff? I know I've seen him interact and stuff, but I don't really see too much activity from any of these United players on social media. I'll be honest, I don't have Instagram and stuff. I've never had Instagram, so the only thing I have is Twitter for the channel. It's not like I'm super active. So you guys let me know if what kind of PR is out there, because all I've seen is just club statements or some stuff from journalists personally. Agreed, he is a PR machine on social media. Is he? I'll have to go look and see if there's anything on Twitter, because like I said, I don't have Instagram. So if there's anything on Instagram, I don't really know about it personally. Rashford, when he.am. I don't know what that means. Goals for George. Let me know. So who would be your replacement for Rashford? Again, I think it comes down to what position do you think maybe he would play and whatnot. I think we do need 10s. He seems like he would probably play in that 10. Some people think we need a better striker. Some people I think we should just put a lot of our money on the left-hand side, personally. I think we need a little bit more creativity, a little bit more press resistance in midfield, but I do think we need somebody on that left-hand side. I think Dalot is just not the type of wingback that we're going to need in this system. I think that he's played a lot of football, and I just think he's better suited just being a right back, like a traditional right back, personally. If Madrid want him, they can have him. But I do want to get a fair market value for these players, because I'm tired of being clowns in the transfer market. But you guys let me know. Maybe you disagree. I'm going to close this other screen real quick so I'm not distracted. Let me get some water real quick. Like I said, this wasn't the video I was planning to do. I had prepped my Spurs preview video, went and did some dishes and checked my phone, and then shit was going off, man. So quickly compiled this, quickly checked on Henry Winter's thing, and wanted to get everyone's thoughts because a lot changes at United in the span of 24 hours, it seems. We got people winning Puskas awards. We got Ashworth's being sacked. We got Rashford's getting dropped. It's been insane. Yeah, Danny. Yeah, Danny, and you'll have to come back for the Spurs preview tomorrow now because I did do a scouting preview for you, a little mini scout report for somebody that you recommended. So planning to do that tonight, but plans change, so you have to come back tomorrow. But yeah, Turkey, Mestan Tuono Nippon. And if you guys have been watching, I did that January bargains video the other week, and Turkey was on there mostly because of Lyon's financial situation. Lyon are a crazy cluster F right now. They are not doing great. So I think there could be some players that might be on the way out, and Turkey is definitely one that I would like. And obviously Nippon. Nippon is looking like it's probably going to be a done deal at some point. I'm sure we'll be doing a video on that announcement sometime within the next few weeks. Mastan Tuono, very highly rated. He was part of that video as well. Bach says, I like Kvaratskhelia. I do love Kvaratskhelia. I think Kvaratskhelia is probably not only the Rashford replacement, but he's a Rashford improvement because he's very selfless. He creates, and I think he could be very good in that position. I think that he could come in and really make that position his own. I think he could almost reinvent that like left-sided 10 position and take the best parts of being a winger because he already is very good in tight areas. He's very good in those channels. I think he could take that and really make it his own position in many ways. I think it would be something that we haven't seen before in the league, in this system. I think that Kvaratskhelia could be the dream. Maybe if Rashford wants to go hang out with Lukaku again at Napoli and maybe go hang out with McTominay, that could be a thing. I mean, there could be worse things to go to. Goals for George says, Rashford was exciting when he started as a striker with tap-ins, good runs, headers, etc. Then he reinvented himself as a winger. Said he does not like being a striker. Yeah, he actually likes being on the left more because Rashford likes to cut in and shoot. That's just what he does. He added strikers' goals, I think, to his repertoire in the last couple seasons. He scored a lot of goals from central positions. He scored a few goals from headers and things during that 2022-23 season. So I had hopes that maybe he could be a striker in a pinch. He's played there before, but yeah, Kvaradona is going to be very expensive. But like Danny says though, like while Kvaratskhelia to me would be the dream, I don't think we're in a place anymore as a club. I think we're past that policy of big signings like that. I think that we're not going to see United spending 80, 100 million on a player anymore. I think that money is going to be stretched for 3 or 4 players who are in their first or like second contracts, who are hungry, who want to play, who aren't going to come and get this contract and then be like, oh cool, I've made it. And furthermore, I don't think we're going to be handing out 300K a week contracts anymore under this new regime. I think Bruno is probably the last one you're going to see. And I don't have a problem with that. I know a lot of people are not happy. They want us to be signing big players. I think that with good scouting, good coaching, I think you can get these players early and develop them even further. And we can see them grow before our very eyes, and they can be very good. But it's a top to bottom, overhaul at this club, from all the way to the IT department to the first team on the pitch. It's an overhaul. There's a lot that needed to be changed. We can't do it all overnight. So it just depends on where Ineos think the priorities are. They're looking at the stadiums. They're doing redundancies. They're doing everything. Yeah, he would be class though, Danny, like he says. Goals for George. Oh, you said a bad word. I mentioned Lookman the other day in terms of the profile of player I think I'd want in that 10 role, and I was getting pelters for even mentioning him. So everybody's going to go in on you now. Jules says straight swap deal. Straight swap deal for who? For Lookman or for Kvaratskhelia? Let me know. Composed view. We need players for now and the future. Tired of getting potential. In my opinion, we need players that are on the cusp of exploding and then build from that. We won't achieve anything if we only get potentials. Well, I mean, that's kind of the same thing, though, right? Players are on the cusp of exploding and potentials. I mean, potential, there are a lot of players who are on the cusp, like João Neves is on the cusp, but at the same time, this is where it's down to a player and their agent making sure they get the right move, because I've said many times, it's not just about coming to the Premier League, it's about the club, the system that you're coming into. Not every player fits every system, every manager. And then it's about the teammates around you. So you can be on the cusp, but If João Neves had gone to a different club than like PSG, let's say João Neves had gone to like a West Ham or something, his development probably wouldn't be very well. He probably looked good in that team, but it would probably hinder his development, right? It's all about the club you go to, and a lot of it is about timing. Like Memphis Depay should not have gotten Memphis Depay from PSV that early. He should have gone to Lyon first. We should have seen how he did with the next step up, and then maybe we should have looked and seen, okay, is this the guy for us or not? He came to United too early in his career. He was not here under the right manager. I don't think any winger of Memphis Depay's profile is going to do well under Louis van Gaal or Jose Mourinho personally, because they just don't play that way. Louis van Gaal is very Dutch. There's not much room for expression. Jose Mourinho is, nope, we're counterattacking. You track back. And I mean, he pulled Depay off one day because he wasn't defending very well. It's all about timing. It's all about the right club, right? I don't have a problem with Lookman personally. I do think we can probably do better than Lookman, and I do think Lookman will probably be expensive. Is my thing. Swap for Kvaratskhelia. Yeah, I think Rashford's probably worth about half of what Kvaratskhelia is going to cost, unfortunately. Kvaratskhelia, I don't know where that guy's going to go, but wherever he goes, he's definitely going to be that deal. He already is, personally. He needs to move for his own good because he's not going to win very much at Napoli. They're not going to be challenging in Europe. They might get the odd challenge in Serie A, but now that Osimhen's gone and stuff, I don't know. Goals for Jordan Lookman and Osimhen to replace Rashford would make the team stronger. Lookman is 2024 African Footballer of the Year. Osimhen was 2023 CAF Footballer of the Year. Are people still on the Osimhen thing? I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just curious because he was a big deal, and now he's on loan at Galatasaray. It seems like he's had some issues with Napoli, right? Like there was some sort of gentleman's agreement that wasn't quite followed through on, and that's why he left. I obviously don't watch the Turkish league too frequently. I watch it now and then. I did that scouting report on Yilmaz at Galatasaray the other day. The guy I think would be good to come in and play on that right wing back role. But how do people feel about Osimhen these days? Does he suit the system? And that's again the question you have to ask. A player can be great, but do they suit the system? That's the question. Osimhen to me seems like a kind of your poacher. Kind of your get the ball in the box and he's going to do something with it. Do we play that way at United? That's the key. That's what you have to consider. And so, again, it's more about the system than about the team in general. So it's always, you don't want to spend a lot of money on Osimhen only for it just to not work out. So, because it's like when we got Falcao. Falcao's, I think, is a similar profile. It didn't quite work out. It just is what it is. So, what are you guys saying in the chat? Let me see. Anybody got any final thoughts on Rashford before we wrap this up tonight? I know it was a bit of an impromptu and wasn't the video we were planning to do. Sorry, Danny, if you were looking forward to the mini scout report. We are going to do that tomorrow when we do the preview. And then we will give Garnacho his props. I posted it on the channel's post. I posted it on Twitter as well. Garnacho was announced as the winner of the 2024 Puskas Award for his bicycle kick against Everton. So hopefully you guys went out there and voted for him, but well-deserved. Hopefully it doesn't go to his head. I know a lot of you think that Garnacho's got a little bit of an ego problem. Hopefully he doesn't coast on this and try to think that he's made it. Like, it is a great achievement. It was a great accomplishment, and it was very well done for such a young player to get. I don't know where you were when you were watching that match, but I lost my shit when that goal went in. But big up Alejandro Garnacho. Couldn't be more proud of the youngster. Jules says, Osimhen, good in the air and athletic. Haven't watched enough of him though. Yeah, I see him. He is very good in the air. He's like a skinnier guy, but he's got some ups. Let me tell you that right now. Danny says, I prefer Gyökeres over Osimhen if we're spending big money. Yeah, I think between the two, Gyökeres does suit the system more. Obviously, he suits Amorim's system. They're at Sporting together. I do think Højlund is basically a younger version of Gyökeres, so it's always hard, right? When it comes, like, I like having options for a striker, but it's hard. Do you want strikers who kind of work in that system, or do you want different types of strikers? Like, do I want a fast one like Højlund who can run off the shoulder into space? Do I also want someone who's a bit more physical, maybe better in the box, maybe better at hold up to offer a different option as well? Do I just want to make sure everybody can play that system? That's a hard place to be in as a manager. I saw us, and we'll talk a little bit more tomorrow. We were linked with a young 17-year-old striker who plays for Olympiacos, so we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow as well. Very highly rated. We keep getting linked with these young players. I haven't seen us linked with a player over 20 in a while, other than like the random Kolo Muani links. Gutierrez is another one. So yeah, Osimhen's probably going to want a lot of money. Yeah, I think we're trying to get away with that. I mean, I don't think we're going to be doing any more of these 300K. I think Bruno's and Rashford's are probably the last one. Once we get rid of Garnacho, I'm not Garnacho, Casemiro, we'll probably see the end of that, hopefully. People talk about how hard it is to get Rashford's wages off the books. I'm more worried about Casemiro's wages, dude. Dude's got a couple more years left on his contract. He's on like 375K a week. We're going to be stuck with Casemiro until his contract runs out. That's just the plain and simple truth. But yeah, big up Garnacho. Goals for George says Osimhen is very experienced after playing in Germany, France, Italy, Turkey, and Nigeria. He's experienced, but again, I'm not saying he wouldn't be a good player, but again, part of this is you have to ask yourself, would this player suit the way we want to play? If Erling Haaland came into the system, if again, would he get the service? Would he fit the system? You know, we saw when Haaland doesn't get service, he doesn't score goals. He had the least touches of anybody on the pitch in the derby. He only had 6 passes, no shots, none of that stuff. Like, you have to offer a little bit more in these days. You have to be able to be willing to do a little bit more. So we'll see. The market for strikers isn't as good as it was in the last couple of years, but I think there are some good ones out there. I like Marmoush a lot. I do like what's his name now? The Mexican dude at Feyenoord. I always forget his name now. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I know it. I just always forget. Jimenez. He had really good seasons, and then he's kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. So it's hard. You can be a Harry Kane, or you can be like a Bellotti. You know, have like one good season, and then that's it. It just, you never know. United TV, it would be quicker to do a stream discussing players we're not. Yeah, definitely quicker. It would just be a, hey, welcome. These are the players the player that we're not linked with. And thank you guys for joining. Like and subscribe, right? Goals for Georgia. Amorim will avoid buying his sporting players to avoid the Eric Ten Hag issues. Yeah, it was so funny to me when that was like one of the big sticks that everybody beat Ten Hag with. Like, he's only looking at his former players. But then the moment we get Amorim, everyone's like, I want Quenda. I want Ignacio. I want Diamande. I want Hillman. I want Gyökeres. Like, wait a second. Doesn't quite work. Jules, got to go. Great to find your channel. We'll drop by. Thanks, man. Thanks for stopping by. And and Jules and Rich and United TV, check out their channel too when you guys get a second. Do some great content. But yeah, appreciate it, Jules. Thanks for stopping by. Danny says, not sold on Osimhen. Attitude either. A lot of clubs to go through. Yeah. And honestly, Danny, I'm cooling on Cunha too with some of the stuff that went down in that Wolves match the other day. Cunha, I don't want attitudes at this club anymore. I want mentality, but I want like elite leadership, determined fight for the badge mentality. I don't want any more of this petulance, any more of this reactionary behavior kind of thing. Yeah, and Rich agrees with you. Goals for George says Vlahovic is good. Here's the thing. Like, I feel like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying Vlahovic is bad. It's just for some reason I've never, ever since Vlahovic left Fiorentina, I just haven't felt as strongly about him as a lot of other people do. Maybe I'm wrong. He's kind of slow. He doesn't really do much off the ball. He's kind of like Harry Kane a little bit before he started dropping deep. He reminds me more of Haaland than anybody. Like, he's running, he's waiting for the ball to come to him, basically, and that's about it. Like, and I don't know, maybe I'm just out of my mind. Maybe it's just an agenda. I don't know. I've just never really rated Vlahovic personally. United TV, need to head off, guys. Catch you. Thank you, Rich, for stopping by. Appreciate it. You guys make sure you go check out Rich's channel when you get a second. I'm about to be wrapped up here. We've been going for a while, but thank you guys for stopping by. I do appreciate that. Danny, same on Cunha now. Wouldn't want him. Yeah, I don't. It's going to be interesting. Wolves are struggling, right? They just sacked Gary O'Neill. They have a few players that we've been linked with, a few players that I like. I'm cooling a bit on some of them. I'm cooling a little bit on Aït-Nouri as well, like I said yesterday. I still would take João Gomez for sure. But they're probably going to end up having a little bit of a fire sale if they don't find a way to get out of this slump personally. But and Danny C, yeah, see, someone agrees with me. Same with Vlahovic, wouldn't work in the Prem. I think the way Arsenal play, he could probably do really well at Arsenal. I think that he would probably obviously help on set pieces. I think that he would add some of that clinical finishing. They do tend to get in the box a little bit more, and they do tend to operate a little higher up the pitch. I think that he could probably suit them. Again, it's about systems. We don't really play that kind of system right now. We're keeping the ball. We're trying to work it around and get these good opportunities. We're playing on the shoulders when we get those opportunities as well. It Goals for George says it what, like the clown, the little hairy guy from Addams Family. You guys old enough to know what Addams Family is? If you have any final thoughts, final questions, get them in. I am going to wrap it up here in a couple moments, just so I can go spend some time with my wife and my dogs tonight. I feel like it has been a long day. It's only Tuesday. It feels like it's been a long week already, but we will be back tomorrow to do the Spurs preview officially. I'm not going to wait till the press conference just because I don't really bother anymore. And plus, I feel like tomorrow it's just going to be a bunch of Rashford questions, and I really don't feel like dealing with that. But I have it ready to go. I've got the mini scouting report. We've got some more transfer news and stuff to cover. So be sure to come back tomorrow for this preview of the Spurs match. We do play Spurs in the Carabao Cup on Thursday at their stadium. And then obviously we'll come back later on in the week to preview this weekend's match against Bournemouth as well, because they're in a good bit of form. I really like us to string a couple results together. We'll see how that goes. Goals for George says Cunha has never been like that in his career. It was a one-off incident. It might be. Like, I haven't watched a ton of Wolves, to be honest, this season. I've watched every now and then when like João Gomez has been on my mind and I wanted to see how he was doing. But yeah, I didn't even watch that match. I saw like a couple highlights of it after. I have no idea what went down there, but it's insane. But thanks everyone for stopping by. I do appreciate your time. If you haven't yet, please like the video. If you're new, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss anything. We do these giveaways now and then. We did a giveaway when we reached 2K. We are on the road to 3K, and we're going to be making a couple different changes to the channel just to try to get you guys more involved in everything. And so keep a lookout for those announcements and how you guys can just get more involved in the community. I really like that you guys are so engaged and you're helping the community grow. I always like to give back when I can. So until then, you guys, that's been it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for stopping by. I will see you guys tomorrow for that preview of our match against Spurs in the Carabao Cup. So till then, take it easy. Talk